So are you ready to go so we can get that on? Okay. So anyway, this is Denny, and he'll introduce what he's doing, and then they'll introduce from there. So this just takes a couple of minutes.
I want to show you a picture because we've been kind of going through. Here's one of the customers we flew a couple of weeks ago. Let's see if you recognize him. He's with one of our pilots.
Oh, Torch Buds.
You got it.
So this is out of Omaha. It's an aviation business, is what it is.
So we have the highest standard for safety, which is a platinum Argus rating, and there are only 62 companies nationally out of 2,000 that have the Argus rating. I just learned very, very early that if you're honest, you can win. When the 9/11 incident happened, there was a lockdown. You could not fly, no plane.
Think fancy technology, we wouldn't have to buffer anymore.
Try hitting escape.
I think I have to. So shut it off and start again?
Just try dropping the quality.
How do I do that?
It's the little gear thing on the bottom right.
Here?
Yeah. Now it's at 480. I don't know.
240.
No, don't.
Come on, you guys.
It should be loading at that. I don't know what it's doing.
It worked out just fine. Okay, so should I just shut it off?
Minimize it and refresh the screen.
Yeah.
Two companies nationally out of 2,000 that have the Argus rating. I just learned very, very early that if you're honest, you can win. When the 9/11 incident happened, there was a lockdown. You could not fly. No plane could lift off a runway anywhere in America. And the reason we were the first flight out of Omaha, because we were authorized, because we had the highest rating for safety. I just felt I could develop my own company that would be a better model. And I felt we had private facility in Omaha to better serve a customer because it would be just for them rather than a customer being picked up at a general aviation facility, which is like walking in the post office. Nobody knows you, nobody cares about you. We greet our customer when they arrive at our facility. Our pilots are waiting to go out and unload their car. Now, since that concept has worked so well here, we're able to spread it to 7 other cities. It would be difficult to remember all the companies that I launched when I was starting into my entrepreneur activities. I needed to borrow money, and I was able to do that at a local bank, and they believed in me. I had a very good sales presentation, and I had numbers that looked like they would support a loan. And I got in trouble with the business. I was technically bankrupt with the pizza operation. And rather than declare bankruptcy, I chose to go to the bank and say, look, I'm going to have to close down operations, and I'm going to pay you back. And they were very nervous about how I would pay them back. And I owed them over $350,000. And I didn't have any money.
That wouldn't be good.
And in addition to the bank loan, I had a bunch of vendors that supplied me anything from pizza sauce to flour and whatever. And I told all of those folks that we would be paying them back as well, for which I did. So that failure opened up the opportunity for the biggest success, because when I found another venture that I wanted to develop, the banker was all in because he believed in me. He believed in me as a person. Behind that dark cloud, there's a silver lining. That was a silver lining because of my ethics, because I was willing to sacrifice and make sure that everyone was paid. Not 50 cents on the dollar, but all their money. We have the same supply to high, so every employee is part of supplying that high. You know, we won't shortcut anything. We do it right in every situation. If the cornerstone is honesty, you will have the best chance of surviving, and if you do, as I've told my story, you can do a lot. The sky's the limit.
Right, so this is Denny. He's going to be talking to you about his businesses and what has happened. So I can give you one here.
Okay.
No, that's perfect, that's perfect. And if it's all right with you, we are videotaping this so that we students who aren't here.
Okay. All right.
So I put up your
Where do you want me?
website here.
Okay.
And so it's probably better if you're over here than you're not staring to the right.
All right. Good. Okay.
So, how about I'll just let you tell what yourself from here, or I can do this too. So, do you want me to?
What would be better with that?
Well, I would say it's good to hear from you, but they did send a copy of his bio, and basically, he is a graduate of the university, what year?
68.
68, okay? But he's received honors from the university, and he's done several different types of businesses, true entrepreneur, never just one. But Jetlinx was the last one. And so you saw an introduction to him, and I'll just let him give your background and tell about your business, and we're fine. And the class ends at 12:15, but anything before that is fine.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm honored to be here. Having graduated from school here, not really being a very good student, I never thought I'd be asked to come back and talk to the student population based upon my habits as a student. They weren't real good. I wouldn't be able to pass now if I were here. So I'm open to talk about whatever you want to talk about. I can tell you my story. I thought about preparation. I think, well, I've been doing it for 40 years. I should be prepared, and I am prepared. But I don't like, first of all, I don't like to be in front of groups normally. I think it maybe it's a lack of self-confidence when I was younger because all the teachers told me I was stupid. And that was really difficult to overcome that. That was my own ghetto. And my father was a dentist, and he was #1 in his class at Payne University. And he had this son, me, youngest of 4, probably a mistake. So they have this kid who doesn't like to study in school. My dad would read to me when I was 2 or 3 years old. He tells me, so I'd get interested in reading. It didn't work. I had no interest in it. I suffered probably from ADD and other similar disorders. But I have this incredible drive and energy. And because of that, I guess I'm back here. It wasn't because of what I learned in the book, because I didn't like to read. I still don't like to read. I learned from other people. And when I was 13 or 14, I try to think about why I'm an entrepreneur. Or why it wasn't because someone told me that'd be a career to take. Because in the 60s, you should be a doctor, you should be a dentist, you should be an attorney, you should be a CPA. If you weren't one of those 4, including my father who was a dentist, how are you going to make it? So I didn't really know what I could do. So in an 8th grade, I knew I was in trouble. I just knew that I better learn to study. So I asked my parents to send me away to college, or to high school, so I could learn to study. I couldn't get into a college accredited school because the 8th grade teacher would not sign off that I was college material. So that's where I started. And when I was at Nebraska, I probably wouldn't have gotten into Nebraska if I weren't an athlete. When I was in high school, I ran in track and I did football. Well, I ran in track when I was a freshman. The varsity coach said you could make the varsity if you didn't smoke. And I said, Coach, I don't smoke, I don't smoke. He picked my hands up and they were all yellow. He said, don't tell me you don't smoke. I have never had a cigarette since that point in my life. It changed my life. It was a mentoring moment. It was life-changing. I have literally ran with that ever since. It was the first positive affirmation anybody gave me about myself. And I attached myself to that and went on and came to Nebraska on a full track scholarship. Won the state championship in high school, so I was on the stand. I knew I could win at something. And all of a sudden I became smarter in the classroom. The teachers liked me more because I was representing the school. And I got to Nebraska. First guy I meet on campus, a little black guy about this tall. And he's got glasses on, sunglasses. And I introduced myself as Charlie Green, who went on and won a gold medal in the '68 Olympics. And here I am having to compete against this guy and the rest of the team. So I was at a very high level. And I learned through that experience. I learned all the disciplines that apply to the business world and to life, your family, through my experience in athletics. So that's the beginning of my story. When I was at Nebraska, my fraternity brothers called me crazy. Crazy Jack, because everything was Jack. So I was Crazy Jack, because I was out in the dorms at night selling t-shirts, doing deals. I sold stereos door to door. I did all this base stuff. No one told me to do that. I just had the energy, and I learned that there was ways to make money other than being a doctor or a dentist. And one of the first things I did as an entrepreneur, when I was on the track team, we go to the Drake Relays, which is a big thing. We win the Drake Relay. We get a watch, which I gave to my father. They gave us a t-shirt that said Drake Relay Champion on it. I was so proud of that t-shirt. I brought it back to campus. Only 4 people that had that t-shirt on the relay team. So I got the idea that the high school state track meet was coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm going to make a t-shirt up for the kids that are participating in the track meet out in Kearney. So I spent $200, bought I think 200 t-shirts, they're $1 a piece. And they said Nebraska State Track Championship with a wing foot on the front and 1966. So I loaded into my car, went out to Kearney, went around to all the hotels where all the parents were, sold them all, called back to Lincoln, said make me 200 more. I went out and partied on a Friday night, had a great time, got back to Lincoln at, I don't know, 2 or 3 in the morning, went racing out the next morning to sell them. Get stopped by the highway patrol. He said, pull over where you can leave this car for a long time. I said, why, sir? He said, I was going 110 and I wasn't gaining on you. So, I have him pull off the interstate. He said, get off. I said, could we go to the Holiday Inn right off the interstate at Kearney? I opened the trunk up and I show him all the t-shirts. I said, I'm here to deliver all these t-shirts for the athletes that are participating. Can we have could we have my, whatever I got to do later? So I met him at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Talked him into letting me go sell all my t-shirts. I thought I was rich, man. I had $400 in my pocket, and I just peeled off 40 and gave it to him. We're out of town, back to Lincoln for another party. So that's kind of the beginning of my entrepreneur efforts. But the t-shirt thing started the deal in my head about t-shirts. So that summer, living in Iowa, I went to Lake Okoboji because I wanted to be at Okoboji. I started a t-shirt shop at Okoboji. Never been done before. And so we'd buy these patterns from a source I found in California and started to sell t-shirts. And it became a really great business. And I didn't have the confidence, I guess, to continue it, because look what t-shirts are now. And here I am, I'm 21 years old, and I get this idea about t-shirts, but I didn't complete it. I did learn a lot from that experience. And then when I graduated, that was my college activities. And I had the t-shirt shop for 6 or 7 years. I took a job at IBM out of Nebraska because that was the thing to do. You know, I didn't want to take the job at IBM. I did not want to do that. I wanted to be on my own. I'd been to seminars. Pizza Hut was just setting up. So I go to a franchise seminar. I wanted to buy a franchise for Pizza Hut. Look what they are today. I mean, there's so many things you can do. And I wasn't wrong in doing that. They were all learning experiences. But I had the nerve. I was willing to take the risk. And I just was always looking. And I'm just passionate about business. I don't care if it's t-shirts or airplanes or IBM equipment or First Data, where I also worked. It didn't make a difference to me. It just being in the game and learning and hopefully hitting a a fortune somewhere along the line. But my IBM experience was 6 years. Then I went on and left there and went to First Data. I was one of the first people at First Data. I couldn't get along with the CEO because I had another business. I had a pizza business I started. And my pizza business was in the night, and I worked for him in the day. It took me till I was 40 years old to focus on one thing. I thought I could beat the odds. You don't need to focus. You know, so I had a pizza place. I had 5 pizza places that I set up, and my concept, because I delivered pizza in high school, was pick up and delivery, offbeat locations. Get in inexpensive locations and don't have dining, just do pick up and delivery. Well, that became Domino's. It could have been me. So I learned from that, and I paid a huge price. I think the film says that you saw, but I failed at it. I failed at it, and I owed a lot of money, and I didn't have the money. And to lose at something, I'd always been able to win. I was this track guy, I did all this stuff, and everything worked for me. It didn't work. And I'm like 28 years old, and I basically was bankrupt. And I told the banker, I said, look, I'll pay you back, but you're just going to have to give me some time. And I set up another company. And that one became more successful. So I was robbing Peter to pay Paul, and I paid back all that money. And it was hundreds of thousands of dollars. But that was not a failure. It was my biggest move to do the right thing, to open up the world to me, because I had so much credibility because I paid everybody back. I didn't pay them 50 cents, I paid them 100% of what I owed. I had vendors that were on me, I had the bank, and I just inside knew the right thing to do was to pay everybody back. So then life goes on. I didn't know at the time, you know, I just did it because that's the way I was brought up, and I just believed you're always honest. And I borrowed money, well, I owe the money. What the hell, I owe the money. You got to pay it back. You told me you would, you're going to pay it back. And I did. So time goes on, and the other company, are you bored?
No.
I mean, I'm rattling here fast. I'm talking 200 miles an hour.
You're good.
Are you sure? Stop me if you got a question. Because I'm here to help you, not me. It's fun to tell my story. But please raise your hand.
Actually, I do have a question. I was wondering, in your early days, what was your family saying to you? Did they want you to take a job at IBM, or were they supportive of your entrepreneurial adventures?
The word entrepreneurship hadn't even been coined yet. So I was crazy. My mother wanted me to stay at IBM. My first year at IBM was a real boost to me because I was in sales, which was like one of my probably number one suit. And I got honors at IBM. I was Rookie of the Year at IBM. Man, that was a big honor. It gave me a lot of confidence after the teachers told me I was stupid. It helped build that confidence. So, no, they didn't want me to leave IBM. They wanted me to stay. When I told them I was leaving, my mother said, oh, all that security, oh, the retirement, all that stuff, you know. Because here, they'd been through the Depression. My father's a dentist. They didn't have any money, you know. I mean, we were on the right side of the tracks, and we had one car, which my mother had, and he'd take the bus to work in the morning. My dad, you know, because that's the way it was. No, when I left, I said, Mother, this is what I need to do. I love you, but I've got to do this. And it was hard because, you know, you're working at IBM, you're doing pizza at night because I didn't have enough confidence to just do the pizza. If I had the confidence and just gone ahead with the pizza operation and cold turkey IBM all the way, or First Data, because I went there and they took me on the premise that you work here for 1 year and you decide what you want to do. Do you want to do pizza or do you want to do FDR? And I couldn't get along with the guy, and he always thought I was shortchanging him. Bill Espion, who's passed away, who First Data is the largest credit card processing in the world. And I was a part of that team. I was asked to leave IBM to come over there because they could see the entrepreneurial part of me. And I set up a division for them. All that stuff you get in your bank card statement that falls out that you can buy, insurance policies, merchandise. I started that for First Data, which became my next company when I left there. And eventually it evolved into a company and credit card that we were able to have a public offering. And so I've done so many different things. I'm just pulling them out as I talk here. I even had a wine art. It's called Wine Art, which was a business where you make your own wine. And I had that when I was in my 20s as a part-time deal. Always part-time because I had to support my family. I got married when I was 23 and started kids. I had 5 children, and they started when I was 26, so I had all that responsibility to take care of my family, and I'm trying to develop a business. I had 110% support from my wife, who I met when I was 14 years old. And I knew she was the right one for me. I don't know why, I just knew it. My dad, this guy who was #1 in his class in dental school, said it about me, and it seems to hold up, and I seem to see it more every day as I do it the natural way. You know, how you feel in here, you know, you got an instinct, and you believe that you can do something, and then you go do it. And it's never easy. I always thought that by the time I was 35, I would be free, and I wouldn't have to work, and all that. I was wrong. Some guys do it, but I also watch some of those guys that get it real early, lose it later. It's harder to keep it than to make it. You've heard that term, and it's true. I've experienced that. Today, the video on Jetlinx, that company started in 1999 because I had an idea again, and my entrepreneur energies kicked in. I had left the company that I founded because that was the plan. We had the public offering in '97, created wealth, so I didn't need to be there, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I knew I always wanted to have a jet when I was a little kid. I just thought that would be the most fantastic thing you could ever do, is to have a jet. So I started looking into having a jet, and I started to learn about the business and learn about how expensive it is, and started looking at the companies to, rather than buy a jet, I buy part of a jet. So I looked at the companies that did fractional. I got them all, put them on a spreadsheet, had my accountant compare them. I looked at what they're doing here, what they're doing there. I said, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? And I just kept getting more curious about it and confused, because it just didn't all add up. So I went and talked to people, Duncan Aviation here in Lincoln, different people that own aircraft. I started doing my kind of homework, not look at a book, but go talk to people that have knowledge. There's not one of them that told me that you got a great idea, you ought to do this. Not one of them said that to me. And now I know why. I mean, it's the most difficult industry that I've ever been involved with. And 12 years later, we've evolved the model through a lot of persistence, determination, investment to be something. But are we in the end zone yet? No. We're getting close. It has a lot of risk. It has a lot of reward. They seem to go hand in hand. They do go. The higher the risk, the greater the reward. Holds true in everything I've done. So we are approaching greatness, but I don't know, maybe 2 years from now something will happen, the industry will change that I can't prepare for, don't know about, and could take us the other way. You know, it's just, the older you get, I guess I've gotten a little bit more thinking about the negative side of it, where before there was no negative. And there shouldn't be in your mind, because you can do it. I don't care if you're a garbage collector, I don't care what industry you're in. If you focus, and you make the commitment, and you have the passion, you have to have the passion to do it. But to have all those, you got to be a risk taker. You've got to be willing to put it on the line, and a lot of people aren't. 90%, I'd say, in my opinion, are not qualified to go out and just do a business and take all the risk, because you got to sleep at night. And there's just when you're risky and you have payrolls and you have responsibility with loans and you have what real business is, and you have all the operational difficulties with people, and just it's not easy. Would I want to do it differently? Absolutely not. No way. What would I have done differently? I would have only stayed at IBM for 3 years rather than 6. That's one of the things that stands out that I've done differently, and I had learned to focus. I learned to focus before I was 40 years old. But but that's just me. And it's been a great ride. It still is, and I hope to continue. I don't have any desire to retire. People say, when are you going to retire? I say, I've never worked. Well, what do you mean? Well, I've never done much for a long time that I don't like. I've retired since I've in the beginning from all the crap you don't want to do. And I've been fortunate enough to basically have myself do the parts of the business that I'm best at. And it's not being CEO, I'm an entrepreneur. Going back, when I set the company up, that was the goal. I knew I needed somebody other than me. I knew I needed talent. So I started in search of a person that I could bring in with me that had knowledge in the specific thing I wanted to do. And I found through the search, I knew there was a company in New York that was similar to what I wanted to do. So I talked to a headhunter back there. One thing led to another. I finally found a guy that I just had dinner with 2 nights ago in Chicago. And he and I founded the company. Well, he was a Harvard MBA. I'm far from a Harvard MBA. He is that, and he is very talented. So he became my partner. We had stock in the company together. He knew how to do the investment banking part of it. He knew how to have the structure, the accountability, the organization, which to me, you know, I just blow and go. I just keep moving. You know, you got to have people there that are disciplined, that are accountable, that have job descriptions, that do parts of your business. So he and I became partners, and you know, and we knew from day one that we were going to take it public. That was our goal when we founded the business. We had investment bankers involved from day one. Now, I couldn't have gotten an investment banker. It's not me. But he, living in Connecticut, living on the East Coast, all his buddies are on Wall Street, all of his connections at Harvard, he was my partner. And he clearly, the other night, said, I couldn't have done it without you. I said, Gary, I couldn't have done it without you. I mean, it's a team approach. There's no way he could have done it. A big part of it that relates to what I did is I brought the finance to the business. We didn't have to give it away because I had almost gone broke in the pizza business. I paid all that money back. He couldn't get any money in Connecticut. The banker said, how much do you want? To me. Why? Because they believed in me. Why? Because they'd experienced it. I had borrowed money, I'd paid them back. So they were willing to work with me. So they would go on a projection, you know. What are you going to do with this new business? And they believed in me, and they loaned us millions of dollars, literally millions of dollars. And it was all because of doing it right. So I brought money to the deal, so we didn't have to have the investment bankers on. We owned control of it until we took it public. That doesn't happen very often. But we were able to do that. And every time we'd have a meeting, the investment bankers in the board meeting would say, well, we're going to need $1 million. How are we going to do that? And I raised my hand. And they'd look at me, how are you going to get that money? It always happened because of the reputation I created for myself and my other business interests that preceded this. So, you know, it takes a team effort. You know, I haven't seen him in a few years because we each went our own way. I set the jet business up. He set another company up. He's in Connecticut. I'm in Omaha. And it was really nice to renew our friendship again. So ask questions. I'm rambling too much. Yes?
Have you ever had to let anyone go or get anyone off your team?
Yes. And I'm not good at that. I let somebody else do it. I really, yeah. I'm passionate about people too, and I just have a hard time. But I also am very observant when they're not performing, and you have to. That's one of the hardest things in business, is to have to let people go. You know, partnerships usually don't work. Partnerships are a real challenge. It's almost like you have to draw the divorce papers up when you make the partnership up, so you know if it's not going to work, here's what we're going to do. Someone said that to me. I think it's a pretty wise statement. Just plan on it not working. Okay, what are we going to do if we got to split 5 years from now? And then you've talked about that, which creates a better bond with the partner, I believe. But it's people who make or break you. Like even in Jetlinx. Okay, we have now 7 cities. I didn't know we could do that. We have partners that perform better than others. You know, well, why? They get just big a market, just many people fly in and out of Denver as Dallas. But why does Dallas do so much better than Denver? You know, it's the people, and you have to make changes when they're not performing. We know what it should be. Well, the partner might not agree with you. I mean, it's very, very challenging. So it's not easy. It's the worst thing.
So when the pizza thing went under, how did you handle the stress of being in so much debt?
Well, I'm always the internal optimist, and I just believe that I could create the other business that would create enough revenue to pay back the pizza mistakes, and it did. I don't know. I have blind faith. I believe in myself. I've learned that. And when I was younger, and my dad was, like I said, a dentist, and here's this struggling student, and he'd have his friends over for dinner, and they were all CPAs and doctors, and people who were successful. At that time, that's the best thing you could do. But I was able to interact with them, and I always thought when I talked to those kind of people, I'm okay with them. I'm not stupid. I can handle this. We're getting along here. I'm saying some things that they're pretty shocked at, that are pretty smart. So you have to have a certain belief in yourself. Very competitive. I mean, to this day, I ride a bike. I go out with friends and we bike, and they're 20 years younger than me, and they're trying to stay with me because I'm very competitive. I got that athletic background. It's the only thing I can do older that I can stay with younger people's bike, and I can't do it right. But I can do it on a bike. And I love that competitive part. I just love it. I mean, if we come to an intersection and there's a car coming, they'll all stop. I'll be through. I'll be gone. I'll be gone. I can judge how far that car is away, and I'm gone. I mean, you come to a red light, if it's yellow, I'm gone. I mean, I'm stupidly too much of a risk taker. I mean, when is it going to catch up with me, But I always say, if you're not on the edge, you're taking up too much space. So, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I guess that's a message that I have. If you're persistent, you're determined, and you're willing to pay the price. I mean, the difference between good and great is you only have to do about that much more work. You don't have to do that much more work, just about that much. Because most people quit when they get on the 10-yard line. They give up. If you're just there that extra hour, it pays dividends. If you have a job somewhere and you come in at 7, the boss isn't there at 7:15, when you resign from that company, he'll say he's the first guy in the place. Guess what? The next guy's going to hire you. They're just a little bit of difference between good and great, in my opinion. You're willing to dig deeper. And I'll tell you another part that's helped me through tough times is physical fitness. When I ran in track in Nebraska, I look back on it, I really hated it. It wasn't fun. It was a lot of work. I had the talent, but I was a 400 runner, which is a terrible race. So anyway, but I wouldn't quit. I wouldn't quit. And because I was willing to pay that price of pain in athletics, it helped me just, I thank God that coach said to me, you can be on the varsity as a freshman. Another lesson along that. So I go out to try out for the varsity. I'm 14 years old or whatever, and I didn't know what 4:40 was. It was around the track once. So everybody's gonna make the varsity, get lined up and run. So we run. I am so far ahead of the student body. I walk off the track at the 3:30. He comes over. What are you doing? I said, oh, coach, I got a side ache. You know what? I couldn't handle the success. I wasn't ready for it. I couldn't. My friends literally were behind me. I couldn't do it. I walked off the track. Guess what? I never got another chance. I did not make the varsity as a freshman because he gave me one chance, and I blew it. You couldn't get me to quit a race after that. You could. I would be dead and I'd cross the finish line. I mean, that was the lesson. I mean, I caught it right there. And then next year, I wouldn't quit anything, and we went on and did great stuff. But so, it's a combination. We're all different. It's a combination thing. I wouldn't subscribe what I've been telling you to anybody, because we're all different, and I'm different, and I do it the way I've been able to do it my way. And there's some smarter things I could have done that I wish I had learned. I'm not Warren Buffett. There are just a lot of things that you need to listen, you need to fill in the gaps with people that are talented, and you need to be willing to let them be a part of what your thought process is. When I was younger, another thing I learned not to just talk to my friends about what I wanted to do. I went to people who knew, who'd been to the dance. They knew how to do it. If you talk to somebody that's in a secure position in a job, he's never, or she has never gone out on their own. And their advice is not what a person who's done it. If you talk to wisdom from experience, it's the best teacher. So there are just a lot of things, but you accumulate all this over time, and you accumulate because you get in the game. You're willing to get in the game. And you get in the game, and you start playing the game, and things come up, and meetings happen, and this disappoints you, and this works, and
Tell us a little bit more, two questions. The Jetlinx and what sets you apart from competition and what
that's a
your
good
competition is. And then I'd like you to talk about your 5 kids and what they're doing.
The Jetlinx business, I started to say that I looked at all the proposals from competitors, and I thought there's a better way to do this. And I was willing to go ahead, and I didn't have a business plan. I had the ability to buy a jet. I bought a jet. And I knew that the jet, I bought a used jet because I always thought, well, now what's the difference between a new and a used? And I felt that if it's just as safe, then why wouldn't you buy one for $2 million and one for $6 million? So I found a friend, a CPA, we each bought a jet in his name, in my name. The business didn't work. Whenever we figured out what the business was going to be, we would each take our jet. And the business is done. That was the exit strategy. So we get the thing going, and I thought, you know, I've lived in this town for 30-some years. I know everybody that can afford to be on a jet, and now I'm in the club because I've taken a company public. So all those people, I'm now all of a sudden, I've earned the right to call them and get a meeting because I've been to the dance. I am one of them because of what I was able to accomplish. And so I thought I would have people waiting at the door to buy shares in my jet. My idea was to buy it, I'll make the risk, I'll take the big risk, and then I'll sell it back to friends. It didn't work quite like that. I put a little ad in the paper, and I think 2 people responded. So I started making aggressive presentations to people. I ended up finding 12 people to buy into the 2 jets. So that got part of our money back. And we started to learn it through that. It's called the fractional program, which NetJets, which is Warren Buffett's company, which he does that. So I started into the path of that, and then we were having a little bit of success early, so what do? We go get 2 more jets. So now we have 4. And we're building the business and learning, and more people are buying parts of the jets. We ended up selling, I think, 12 shares on 4 jets, which was about 30% of the total investment we had in the business. It was not what we wanted. We wanted to sell 100% non-owned jets. So a difference in our company, based upon my learning about the other companies, was the first thing I noticed is, where are they going to pick you up at? They pick you up at a general aviation facility, which is shared by other jet people, and they don't know who you are. It's like going to the post office, you know. I said, why don't we make a private facility so it just serves our customer base, our members and our fractional owners. So we did that, which separated us from everybody, because when people in Omaha drive into our facility, we greet them at the door, we come out and bring their luggage. The person who set the flight up comes out and said, how are you, Mr. and Mrs. Walker? How's your dog? How's your kids? You know, and so it's a very personalized presentation of something that's never been done that way, jet travel. So we made it work here in Omaha. We evolved into not ownership, but we sold my planes, and then we manage aircraft for companies. And when they're not using it, then we put our members on the aircraft, members being people in the Omaha community, some of them from Lincoln, that buy the rights to travel with us privately, and we guarantee availability. But the aircraft we don't own anymore. We have 30 aircraft, and they're all someone else's aircraft that sign an agreement with us for us to manage their aircraft. That's one part of business, aircraft management. The other part is membership, where people who don't want to own an aircraft, don't need an aircraft, fly fewer hours, they buy hours from us, and we put them on this fleet that we have when our fleet is available. It's like owning a condo in Colorado. You use it 2 months a year, and 10 months it sits there. Where you create revenue by renting it out. People have jets, and they use it half the time it's available, and the other half they let us use it. We create revenue for them, and they're happy. We're happy, and it's a unique concept. So 2 distinctions between us and everybody else. One is a private facility, and the other is our pricing. We have a better pricing model than anyone in the business. And the reason for that is we do not own the aircraft. We do not have that capital risk, which is millions and millions. We do not have that anymore. So we're able to price it better than anybody. We have the highest standards for safety. That's number one. If it was 30% less and it weren't safe, nobody would fly with you. So we have the highest standards for safety. So the two big things that differentiate us, we're a boutique type. We have personal facilities in all the cities that we're in, and we're the best pricing. We accomplish the best pricing through what I said. As far as my family is concerned.
Yeah, I have a question on the business, actually.
Okay.
How did the recession affect your business?
Terrible. I think, we made it through it, but it was, again, talk about being able to sleep at night and trying to make ends meet. We had just staffed up to really blow and go. This is the term I use. Create gross revenue, make net profit later. Let's just get the gross. Let's go open cities. Let's move. Set up a staff to do that. Labor, like a couple $1 million worth of overhead. We had to cut a lot of that back because of the recession. A lot of companies, we knew if we made it through, we'd have a better spot in the industry because a lot of people went away. They couldn't handle the pressure of funding their companies, so they're not there anymore. It gave us more opportunities, so it's growing again. But it was really difficult. But everybody had it. I wasn't alone. But I never had to take sleeping pills. But I get up and run every day. I was saying I hated running, I did, but now I love it because I do it because I want to. And to be able to be, it makes you mentally fit. I mean, I think I got more out of just going out in the park and jogging before a meeting than anything I could sit down and think about. I don't know what it is. And I did that way when it was embarrassing. In the 70s, people didn't run. I had to come down to the university to get warm-up shoes because there weren't running stores around. And so I would go out and run. I'd run at night so nobody would see me. Because you didn't want anybody to know you ran. You were something. Again, I'm crazy. So I'm out there running. And I had no idea the value. I just knew, I just felt it. I couldn't describe it. But I got that endorphin high. But they didn't write about that. I just did it. And I've done it ever since. And I can't run as much, but I exercise every day. I'm addicted. It's an addiction. It becomes an addiction. But I think it's so important. My wife would tell you that. It's my drug of choice. It just keeps me somewhat stable.
If there was ever a period of time when you had to sell and you weren't selling for whatever reason, what did you do to keep yourself from getting down on yourself emotionally? Running or?
Running helps a lot. Like right today, today is I'm driving to Lincoln. I got a lot of thoughts in my mind about the jet business. Certain things need to be that I'm concerned about that might not sell. I said Denver. I said Dallas. Dallas does fantastic. Denver struggles. Why? It's not selling. It's not getting members to sign up. But why isn't it getting members? You just think your way through it. And one of the things I always say, it's not the end of the world if it doesn't work. If you put yourself in a position where it's not the end of the world, you will survive. I think of all the times I worried like I did today. Somehow I got through it. But it wasn't because I worried. You just think it out, and you make a plan, and you address the problem with a plan, and with hard work, it'll get resolved. Now, whether that means there's a different partner, whether that means he gets rid of somebody that's in the organization, or whether we do more advertising, maybe we're not hitting the market right. And that's business. There's always, why? People are the most important component of a business. It's who you hire to execute your plan, and that gives me my family to talk about. Because I have these kids that have too much of me. There are 5, as I said. 4 of them are on their own. And they've all set up their own little businesses. My daughter, who I was with yesterday in Chicago, has, and you can look at her website, Chicago's Girl on the Go. She does personal services for people in Chicago, in the Lincoln Park, downtown area, families that are both working, have a lot of disposable income, and they need help from, I went with her yesterday. She's taking me to the airport. She stopped and picked up framing for some pictures. She went to Kinko's and got something for somebody. She does all this stuff for people. And it's personal services. She did a big party for some really affluent people in Chicago last weekend. And the stories, it was Ridley's mansion. I mean, it was like, and the people, and she's very good at it. She's very good at it. So she has her own little business. She's making more money, finally, making more money than she could ever be employed. But how did she do it? She just, every day, just kept trying this, trying that, calling this, using this email, using this website, words, all this stuff. And so now she has a little business. So she doesn't have to go to work for anyone. If she doesn't want to make it any bigger, she's making more than she would at any company pay her. And she hired her first person. I said, well, how did you happen to hire your first person? Dad, I had to. I couldn't come to Okoboji with you unless I had somebody to take care of the business when I'm gone. So she's at Okoboji. She's on the phone talking to the people, and her counts, and one woman's upset because they didn't get there at 9 o'clock to open the door for her dog to go out or some damn thing. And she's having the people struggles. The girl in Chicago, well, I didn't bring the key to the door. Jancy is her name, Jancy. What'd you tell her? I said, what I do. I bring the key, I bring this, I bring that, so I'm in the neighborhood, I can cover all these things at once. And what she's able to do is she gets paid an hour from 3 people, and it takes her an hour. Because she a minimum of an hour, and if they're all in the same neighborhood, and you got 3 people paying you to do little things that take 15 minutes, guess what? You got 120 bucks that hour. So, you know, it's creativity, it's thinking, it's pretty interesting to see her. She was struggling, and now she's got confidence. Why does she have confidence? Because she knows she can do it. How does she know? Because she went to work, and she made it happen. It wasn't because I was in there with her. You know, we talk a lot. It isn't really my guidance, because I can tell she's stubborn enough. She's got to figure it out. I just got to watch her make mistakes, so to say, and go on. So it has the makings. That business has the makings to be something. Have you heard of Home Instead? Home Instead is an Omaha-based company that's all over the world now, and they provide services for elderly people that need someone to bring their groceries in, someone to mow the yard, whatever. It's an incredible success. And it's dealing in neighborhoods. And it's like if your parents are aged and you want to make sure they're okay. You'd hire Home Instead because you know that they're being seen every day by somebody. And anyway, it has the makings to be something. But before, when I talked to her about that, she didn't want to talk about that. And now I know why. She hadn't figured it out. But now she sees it. She sees that, look, there are other people who like to do what I'm doing here. And they could make the kind of money out of it. And I said, well, Nancy, where's your operations manual? Well, I don't have that yet. I said, do you remember a year ago we talked about every day, write down what you do, write down what you do, how long it takes you, write down what the particulars are. That's your equity. You hand that to someone, and they open their business because you've got it right there. Because how? Because you experienced it, you did it. You prepared yourself for it. So I have another son in Denver, and he is in the transcription business. Medical transcription, where a doctor sees you and he tells what he needs to do, and there's a medical report about you. They're outsourcing that. Doctors, now he's found attorneys are outsourcing, he's found county governments that are outsourcing. So he has a transcription outsourcing business. And that business is not, my daughter's actually further ahead than he is. His deal is really difficult, but it has more overhead, just more complicated. But the reason it's now working better is because he got another person in there that's talented. And he said, Dad, I can't believe how much different it is with this woman he brought in. It's an assistant that sets accounts up and does it right, is able to bring new business than the last person he had. So it's people. But his little business is doing okay. And then my other son has a company that does, he's in the telecom industry, cell phones. The intelligent phones now. You go to the stadium over here and you can't use your phone because of everybody else trying to use their phone. And he has a proposal into Lincoln. He has one in Omaha. He's finally got his first one in Denver, where they'll invest in the equipment so that all the carriers can successfully have calls for all of us at one time. And it's a different concept. It tells the university you can control and you can make a profit because we'll put the equipment in, and then Sprint, and all the carriers come to you with their proposals. They want to be a part of that, and you control your own future. the way it's done before is Pratt will say, well, we'll put those $2 million in, we'll put that machine in, we'll let all the other carriers use it. They don't do that. They do it, but they don't do it. They don't make it easier for the other carriers. They're controlling your cell phone coverage in your facility because they put the equipment in. Do it independently. My son Luke has got this concept, this DAS equipment or something. But you know, he's launching his business, and he's just launching it. Will it work? I don't know. I know the industry is expected to grow 20% a year for the next 5 years. Well, if he can be a part of that, have a little bit of it, he'll have a nice business. Out in the rural country, you know, the towers, there's not enough cell towers across the Midwest. You know, there's so many, that industry, if you're looking for some industry to go into, that and oil, I guess, are the two big things right now. But that telecom industry is huge. And there's all these little niches that you can grab onto, and all of a sudden you have something better than working for somebody. And you're learning, and you're making a living, or you're making more than a living, or you create a fortune. Look at all the people that are 30 years old, they have made fortunes. I mean, huge money.
I'm just curious to know, so you said you didn't have a great time in college as far as, you know, that went. Do you see something in yourself that you knew that you were going to, you know, outshine your classmates in the professional world, or did you believe in yourself at that point, or did it take you, you know, to get into the professional part of things before you figured that out?
That's a good question. You know, I was just always driven. I guess I felt that I wouldn't have the, there were free enterprise. It wasn't like it is now. There's more opportunity now. I didn't know what I'd be able to do, but I just knew I liked business. I liked creating new things. So I really, again, like my dad said, I did what naturally came to me. Not really knowing I'd be able to create what I've now done, and it have the reward it has. I guess I still felt if you weren't a doctor, a dentist, an attorney, whatever, I hire all those services now. I mean, you know, I think IBM helped me because I got the awards at IBM, so I believe that I must be pretty good at something. And another thing I didn't tell you, when I was in college, I was a lifeguard. I was sitting on a lifeguard chair, and a classmate of mine from high school said, "Hey, I'm selling stereos door to door. I'm making $100 a stereo." And I'm 19, 18 years old, 20 years old. So I said, "Well, how do I do that?" You know, I'm a lifeguard. You know, it's 1 to 9, pool open 1, close at 9. He said, "Well, you know," I went with him on a presentation. He sold one. So I started selling stereos in the mornings when I wasn't being a lifeguard. I go downtown, and at noon, everybody go to lunch, and I give out cards for a free demonstration for a stereo. At that time, it had two separate units. Well, separation of sound was in this beginning. Before we'd show them this, they didn't know that Monday, that song, you could hear part of it here and part of it over there, and people would go, "Oh my God." I mean, I learned through that, and I sold it. I made, I don't know, $1,000 a month during the summer. I found something I could do that I could make a living, you know. And so that was, I guess, my first selling experience. Marquette out of Minneapolis was the name of the company. I'd go out in the morning, get the prospecting, go in after 9 o'clock, and all the tricks, the dirty tricks they do. You take the phone off the hook so that you wouldn't be interrupted when you're doing the presentation. I mean, all these little things that I learned when I was that age. That you know, you had to get the prospect to focus. You know. So no, I don't know. I had a dream, I guess, of having a certain wealth. I read the book Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. I read that book because a friend of mine out of college gave it to me. It was the first voice, and I read it. Remember, I don't like to read, but it said the things in there that made me believe in myself. If you can dream it, if you want it bad enough, you can have it. Even though I didn't get grades in school, that book, I kept that book for 20 years. I just kept it, and I keep looking at it. I think that was a breakthrough in confidence. It's just, everybody's different. But it's different today than the 60s. I mean, my kids are having totally different experiences, and not totally, a lot of similarity, but different. There's 100 times more opportunity now as I see it. I mean, it's 150 or 20, but it's a lot better now. It's an entrepreneurial world. it's entrepreneur everywhere, creating new things and evolving new concepts. And, you know, the other part, if you don't want to take the risk, in a certain sense, I didn't want to take the risk, so I worked at IBM. I worked the first day of it. I always had a job to support my family, and I do this and try to make this big. You can do that. You can do that today. You can go to work for somebody. IBM hired me knowing I had another business. They hired me knowing I had a t-shirt shop at Lake Okoboji. Why did they hire me? Because they thought I could sell. Why did they think I could sell? Because I had a story to tell them already. I had sold stereos door to door. They thought if I had enough nerve to go out and make calls and sell stereos door to door, I could sell IBM equipment. And they were right. But I did it as a part-time job. People at IBM now, I tell them it's the best part-time job I ever had. You know, to them, all my friends are working, that's all they did. You can do that in half a day if you're good. So I say it's the best part-time job I ever had. But if you don't want to take a risk, you know, the only let's say you have a great idea, you know it's going to work, but you're just afraid. You can't sleep at night. Well, then let somebody else put the money in. Give away. You know, give away 90% of the company. Let somebody else. You'll learn. You started it. You founded it. You're going to get a reward bigger than the job. But you didn't take the risk because you got the investment bankers involved. You got people to take the risk with you. So, you know, just because you don't have the guts to put it all on the line, that's my answer to that. You got the concept, you got the idea, and you believe in yourself. You start it, but you get other people. Money shouldn't be an excuse for not going into business. It should not be the excuse. Now, I've always borrowed from banks. I've always borrowed from banks. Part of it, because that's all I know. You know, my kids, in involving these businesses, I can't really help them because they need to go to the investment banking community to raise the capital. There's big money required. You know, and I can lead them to meetings where they can show what they're doing. It's like my son Luke, the first contract, his business doubles in value once he gets that first contract. Immediately. You put it on your balance sheet because it has value, because there's revenues that will be created from that first contract. It's a little college out in Colorado. But now they're trying to get all the carriers to agree to let him control their future in that stadium. That means Quest, that means what all the other companies are that do it. AT&T, they all got to come to my 32-year-old son Luke and accept him controlling that stadium. So he's got a lot of work. He's got to get those carriers. Once he gets them to buy in once, the second one's half as hard. Once he gets that, he comes back to Lincoln and he shows them what he's done, they're going to believe more that he can really do it. There's no question he can do it. There's no question in my mind he can do it. But, yes?
When you're expanding your business and you're looking for partners or employees, what do you look for in a person?
You know, one thing we do, the organization right out of here, Don Clifton founded, it's now up in Omaha. Gallup. They have a program called Strength Finders. You know, most people can sit down and have coffee with me and convince me about anything. So I don't believe my judgment on hiring somebody. I look at Strength Finders, I look at Predictive Index, which is another measuring tool, and we use those as guides. And then we try to look at their background, what they've done, you know, what have they done. It's really difficult to get the right team. Once you have the right team, the chemistry's there. It's just like the football team. Once they got the right chemistry, things just go. They just work. It's hard. People are the most important ingredient. They're the most difficult to capture the right group. You know, my son, another son who runs the jet business, I founded a company. It's where it is today because of my son Jamie. And Jamie came into the business totally by accident. And Jamie has evolved the business. It's his magic, I call it magic, that's made it what it is because he's 24/7. He's passionate about it. He's great with customers. He's great with people. It's not me anymore. If he were to crash in an airplane, I don't think I'd have it. He's so important. That's scary. But it's difficult to put a team together. He's putting his own team together. Again, you know, I got to kind of stay back because I'm so, you know, emotional and I say things and get involved and I want it fixed right now. That if I'm there every day, it drives me nuts. Absolutely nuts. So I can't be in there. He's got his team he's developing. And every time I make a mistake, Dad, you were in yesterday and you talked to so-and-so, he's got a different message from you than me, and I just get angry, which I shouldn't, but I gotta stay out of the way. It's hard when you've found something, you're passionate about it, you've created it, and you can't, you're almost locked out. Not really locked out, but and it's a style I'm not used to. Yes?
It seems like your life has been pretty stressful. Is there been any point of your life that it's not been stressful?
I don't think I've ever been stressed. I don't have an ulcer. I don't have my hands. I'm solid. You know, I really don't. Because I'm so intense, I appear to be stressed. I'm not stressed. It's just me. It's hard to be me. Because I'm always thinking. And I don't know where that came from. It wasn't because I studied it. It's just because I jumped in with both feet. And I realized how important it is to really think things through. I would say, though, that if I die at a younger age than whatever you're supposed to, it'd be because of intensity. And maybe you can call that stress. I don't know. But I can't just, I can't get up in the morning, go out and read the paper and sit down and relax. I envy people who can do that. I do. When I see friends that are able to do that, I say, how do you do that? Tell me, teach me. Come on, teach me. So it's a very good question, and I thank God I've gotten the fitness part, because that's really helped me to keep the stress up. But I've never taken any anxiety pills. I've never done anything chemically. I just figure it out and go on. But I don't know.
How many employees do you have?
About 200. A lot of pilots. Pilots are the biggest part of that. They're the face of your company. If you think about it, if you fly with our company, I might sell you on the deal, then I'm gone. If you go to the airport, you get on a plane, there's pilots. They represent you. Their face, how they handle you is extremely, extremely important. So we've had a real struggle on getting the right pilots with the right attitude, because they're quite unique. One of the jokes is, if you go into a room of 300 people, how will you know who the pilot is? He will tell you. So, I mean, they're very proud, they're very independent. So it's very hard to develop that culture. Now, how do we do it? One of the questions you had, we use predictive index. We took the ones that were real good and we analyzed them. We analyzed, what is it about these guys? Our customers love these guys, but these guys, they don't. So we learn through modeling as to who to hire for the pilot part of it. Because, you know, back in the beginning, when I would be out in our community in Omaha, and I'd be at a community event, socially or philanthropically, or some cocktail party, our customers, if they weren't happy, they'd come up and talk to me. Always. It wasn't fun when they would do that. I don't have that anymore. Why? Because we're running it right. I see those same people at parties now, and they always say, God dang, what a great experience we had last week. So it governs itself, this business, because all the people that are our customers, and I'm running risks, these are all my friends, a lot of them are, and they're not my customers. And you want your friends to be happy with what you're performing for them. So I see them, and I don't hear it anymore. Very, very seldom. So, you know, because of that, I am briefed. I am briefed on all the customers. When I go to a party in Omaha or the holidays, I will know who's going to be there that is a customer, and I will know if there's any issues. Now, I don't study all that, but they provide that with me. You know, I'm going to be at the Medical Center Chancellor's Party on Monday night, and I know there will be at least a dozen customers there, at least. And so what I do is I tell the office, I got this party, tell me if there's any concerns on any customer, and they'll tell me. So when I see the guy, oh, Hal, I'm so sorry you had an hour delay out of New York last week, and I'm sorry the limo wasn't there. But, you know, we've made these steps to make it so it won't happen, you know? So just lots of stuff has evolved the business. Those are things we learned. No one told us that. I mean, in the beginning, I have a friend call me at home. He says, Denny, he said, I'm going to buy you a snowplow. I said, what are you talking about? He said, I just came down to take a flight, and I had to walk through the snow to get out to the plane. I mean, that's stress. Because I want people to be happy. And one of the biggest reasons every business I've ever been in is because I pay attention to that. I want experience of any customer I have had to say we're the best. And you just do the extra things because it's a culture in Nebraska. You know, we hired people from Harvard's campus. I was kind of honored. Gary and I were at Harvard, and we interview all these. We hired 2 or 3 a year out of Harvard MBAs. And there wasn't, over 20 years, there wasn't one of those people that could run the company like my partner did. He's one of them. But it's just hard to find a person that can be a CEO and to do things. They're great project people. They'll work from 6 in the morning till 7 at night, and they'll work, but you got to direct them. You got to give them the project, and they will do it, right? But we were looking for a CEO to replace him. He didn't. He's still there. I'm glad. Finally, he's retired this year. But it's people. When I did the business that went public, I knew when in New York, here's this company that's blowing and going. They're really doing good. They're big. They're the only one in it. So I knew I wanted intelligence from that company, which I did. And I knew that if I could get, because I'd served banks before, I knew all the banks, I knew where to go to do the business, and they knew me, and they knew I would do a good job for them. So I was able to get accounts right away for the new business. Why? Because I've been with these banks over the nation that do credit cards. The Chase, Citibank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, you name it, and I had done business there. So I'd earned the right to be in there with a new company. So it was easy to do a new company for me because I was in the industry already. So I get the partner from New York who provided me the knowledge of the new things we were doing. But I just knew that we would handle it better from a customer perspective. That those bankers would like us better. Why? Because we did it better. How do we do it better? We were better service. We paid attention to the details. We bent over further. You know, we just did it. And a lot of East Coast companies won't do that. The other thing I would say about Harvard MBAs, they're no smarter than you guys. Nah. You're kidding yourself. Don't ever believe that. I always thought, oh boy, Harvard MBAs, baloney. You got every bit as much intelligence and opportunity, maybe more than they do to do something. They're too programmed. I mean, they're just programmed. When I take them on a call with me and do an account, I'd say to them, shut up. Don't talk. We know you're smart. I would say that. Don't talk. If they ask you a question, answer. If you want to talk after we learn what the account wants us to say, then you can talk. But don't try to tell them what we have until you understand what they want. Ask open-ended questions if you're going to talk. Who, what, when, where, why, how. If you can't start it with one of those 6 things, don't say anything. It was the hardest thing in the world. I can tell you, I took 3 or 4 of them with me, and every time it was the same story. They wanted to brag about who they were, what our company was, and what we could do. It doesn't work that way. You got to satisfy the customer. You say the same thing, but you wait till he tells you what he wants to hear, and then you focus it on the way he presented it. You're really doing the same thing, but you're giving the highlights of what he wants or she wants. But you never talk. The best salesperson is the best listener. You got to listen. You have to. Well, how are you today? Simple as that. He's got to talk. You know. What's your company about? You're showing interest in it. You know, how long have you done this? Where are you going with it? What can I do to make it better? He's got to talk. So, I can sure talk, can't I? Jesus. You guys got me wound up. It'll take me a day to settle down. That would be stress of settling down from being up in front of people, which, as I said, is not anything I normally want to do. I'm enjoying it, but I'm just wound up.
Well, you have one more class to go to.
I know. What'll I do then? So come on, ask questions. Don't be afraid of me. I hope you're not afraid of what I'm saying.
One more question.
Pardon me?
We probably have time for just one more question.
Well, we got 2. We're gonna have that little lady back there and this gentleman. Ladies before gentlemen.
Well, I mean, so what do you think is next for you? I know you said that you don't do want retirement, or you know you like to move around, but are you going to stick around with this aviation, or?
Best thing for me to do in the aviation, as I kind of said earlier, is let my son and our board run it, and I'll have my input from the board only and stay out of operations. So that can be a home run. So I've got to watch it, so to say. But my other time, when I leave here at 2 o'clock, I have a meeting with Tom Osborne. And the purpose of that is something I love a lot, and that's mentoring. When he retired in 1997, now I've known him since I was in training table 1. getting dinner as an athlete here. I've known Tom all this time. When he retired, I had just taken my company public the year before, so I had time. I wanted to pay back. So I was looking at different things I could get involved in. I came down to visit with Tom. I said, what are you going to do with teammates? He said he was going to take it across the state. I said, how can I help you? He said, we live in Omaha. Why don't you work in Omaha? Which I did. And I formed a board in Omaha. We mentor 1,000 kids in Omaha right now. So my meeting at 2 is kind of like deja vu. In '97, he retired. What are you going to do with teammates? I'm going back to him at 2 o'clock today. What are you going to do with teammates? How do I help you? So, and I'm on the foundation board for him for raising money, and I'm on the regular board. So I love mentoring. I can tell you I've had as much pleasure, probably more, out of mentoring than any business deal. Helping kids, it's amazing what it does for you. And so that's my other passion, is working with kids. You don't get paid for that. It's not, you do get paid. You get paid more than you do because of what it means to you. It's medicine, you know. So you know, I don't want to slow down. Life's too wonderful. I mean, every day I want to be engaged in life. You know, I don't want to just sit and read the paper. Now, if I'm smart enough to read the Wall Street, maybe I gain something. You know, I just don't. I don't like to read the Wall Street Journal. I read USA Today. But I learn about the Wall Street from all my friends that do, and I just listen when they talk, and I pick up the highlights.
And then with the commercial airlines and stuff struggling lately, does that have any impact on your business, private charters, or?
It helps.
Okay. Because I don't know if many people switched over to privates, or that way.
Yeah, no, it helps. It helps a lot with the way you have to go through security and all the difficulties, as you said. It's helped us. We've advertised it in the Omaha airport with Jetlinx when you're standing in line waiting to go down, and there's a whole line of people waiting to go through security. And it's like, I can't read this. There's a picture of our jet. It says, are you tired of this yet? Call Jetlinx. Oh, I wait in line. And we've had a lot of people tell us about that. So, yes, it has helped us. And another thing, immediate audience we get is when people get older and they can't do that, then they call us. Because, you know, their health isn't good. They're in their 70s or 80s or 90s. And they've always gone to Florida every winter. Well, they can't do that. They're uncomfortable. They get stressed. They get, you know, they can't do it. So they become our customer. They should have become our customer 25 years ago, because you can't take it with you. You know, and some of these people, I know people are worth $500 million, $100 million, whatever. They still fly commercial. Their mama didn't raise them to spend money. They won't do. They won't even buy a first class seat, and they got $100 million. I mean, it's crazy. I thought when I started thinking, oh, all these people who I know have fortunes, they're going to fly private. They won't do it. They won't step up. But eventually, they do. 12 years later, I have customers that I called on day one that this year have signed up. 12 years later, they finally see the light, so to say. All right, I'll shut up.
I have to say, you have probably been, even though I didn't plan this, you have been the best speaker to come in to end this semester with taking all this information and really putting it to life. And I know that this, to me, this was like, wow, you just went through and explained what entrepreneurship is all about. And this is, to me, the epitome of what you all could do. And he is right. Any of you could do a business of your own. It's just whether or not you want to work hard and take the risk to do that. So I appreciate the fact that you've come all the way from today. Well, you didn't even fly here. No. But I appreciate you coming today and speaking with the students. And if they did have more questions, is there a way for them to get in touch with you?
Through the Jetlinx website.
Okay.
I don't have enough cards to get everybody. But I'd love to help you. I'm serious. If you want to talk about it, I'm open any time you are. I'll make myself available, because I love people who are out after what I did, you know. And so yes, and you're very complimentary. Thank you. It brings tears to my eyes. So I never thought I'd be up in front of a group. So thank you.
Thank you.